Hey guys, it's Miss Quirella here. So for this video lesson, you need these notes pages if you're in class, or you could take notes in your journal or use OneNote. Make sure you have a writing utensil, a pencil, or a pen in front of you, and let's begin with the essential question. So today you will learn how to find slope, the letter M, and the y-intercept, the letter B, from a table. So last week you guys learned how to find slope and y-intercept from a graph, specifically a non-proportional graph. So now remember guys, to recall, slope is now called M, and we are adding a beginning point, which is the y-intercept or the letter B. Okay, so today we will be doing it on a table, how to find slope and y-intercept, and then writing the equation in slope-intercept form. So let's begin by writing down some things that we actually have talked about before in the proportional unit, but here's a reminder. So we can use the formula below, formula right there, to determine the slope of a table. So slope of a table, I'm going to box that by using the formula right there. I'm going to make a cloud around it so it's emphasized. Okay, so M, remember, is the slope equals the delta y. That little triangle is called delta y over delta x. So that delta sign, the little bitty triangle, guys, remember it's called the change in symbol. So we're going to write that down. Change in. Okay, so to find M, the slope on a table, we have to do change in y divided by change in x. Okay, so for the four tables, we are going to determine the rate of change. That's a keyword, remember, or keywords that tell us that we are finding what? What's rate of change? If you said slope, you are correct. And what letter do we use to represent slope now for non-proportional? Yes, the letter M, and the y-intercept is a key word. I mean, it's a word, a math word, and that means it is the what point? Yes, if you said beginning or begin, you are correct. So just like the word begin has the letter B, and y-intercept is denoted by the letter B, small b. Okay, so let's find the rate of change M and the y-intercept B for the table, for this table, number 1. Okay, so now remember, we have to do change of y divided by change of x. So I need to find these two numbers. Okay, actually let me use different colors for those. So I'm going to use the same purple for change of y divided by the change of x is going to be in, let's see, blue instead, change of x. Okay, so we do need to find those two things. All right, so we have the table here. I'm going to highlight the specific colors that we are going to be using for y and x. So the y is that color, and then the x is the blue color. All right, so let's go ahead and find the change in y. Okay, so remember, how many points do we need to pick to find the slope and the to find the slope on a table? How many points do we need? Okay, if you said 2, at least 2, that is correct. So, and if you notice, there are negatives and positives. Okay, so we have -2, -3, and then I have 0, 1, 1, 3. So whenever I can, guys, whenever you can, choose positive numbers because they are obviously easier to deal with. So I'm going to pick this pair right here, 0, 1, and there's something special about that. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And then 0, 1, and then I'm going to pick the other pair, 1, 3. Okay, so from here, I need to find the change in y. Okay, so going from 1 to 3, what is happening? Okay, we are adding 2. Okay, and then from on the change of x from 0 to 1, what is the change? Yes, we are adding 1 to go from 0 to 1. Okay, plus 1 is your change of x and plus 2 is your change of y. So I'm going to write those down using the specific colors here. So our change of y is 2 divided by the change of x is, the change of x is 1. So that just gives us what? Equals, what's 2 divided by 1? Okay, it's just 2, and that is your slope, or m, guys. Okay, now to write the equation, guys. Remember, the equation is in the format y equals mx plus b. This is also called the slope-intercept form because the m is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. And that's the equation for non-proportional that we are dealing with right now, okay? So if you notice, the equation has the m, the slope, and the y-intercept, the b. So we're going to find where that beginning point is, okay? So on a table, guys, on a table, the y-intercept is the point where x is 0, where whatever the y value is. So this right here, guys, is the letter B, okay? Because that's where x is 0, okay? So B equals 1, and I'm also going to write that down here. B is 1. Okay, that's the beginning point, remember? Okay, so I also want you guys to make a note right here. So make a note that when x is 0, y is b. Okay, so on a table, wherever x is 0, which is right here, the y value is the b value, the y-intercept or the beginning point, okay? So if this were a graph, it would start at 1, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and finish up the equation. So the equation is y equals, what is our slope? All right, it is 2. I'm going to use the same color as I used before. 2x plus, what is our b? It is 1, and it's a plus because the b value is a positive number, 1. Okay, so that is your equation, guys. Y equals 2x plus 1. I am just going to put a box around it, okay? And let's move on to the next one. All right, so here we go. We have hours and we have temperature here, guys. So remember, hours is a unit of time, and time is usually the x value. So your x, remember, was blue, so I'm just gonna do that there, and then the other one was purple. So temperature is your y, and your hours is your x value. Okay, so again, we have x and y, and then we just need to find the change in y, change in x, and get the m and b. This is a little special, so I'm just going to do this together with you, and then number 3 and 4 are going to be on your own, okay? So we do have to pick, how many points do we need to pick, guys, to find the slope? That's correct, 2, and whenever possible, we want to stay away from the negative. So I'm just going to pick 4, 4, and 8, 3, okay? So now for my slope m, I know I need to find my change in y and my change in x. So my change in y is going to be in my purple. So my change in y here is from 4 to 3. So if you have $4 and you now have $3, did you spend money? Did you get, do you have less money now? Yes, you do. So that means that you subtract 1 to get to 3. So 4 from 4 to 3, the change in y is -1, okay? And then from the change in x from 4 to 8 is actually a +4 because you add 4 to get to 8, okay? 4 plus 4 is 8. All right, so let's put it in the change of y or change of x. Remember, change of change of x is at the bottom, and then change of y is at the top. So change in y is -1 divided by the change in x is 4, okay, +4. Now, if we were to write this in fraction form, it would be, decimal form, this is a fraction. The decimal would be -0.25, okay? So that's our slope. And let's go ahead and find the y-intercept. Now, remember, when x is 0, y is b, okay? So this is your b value. All right, so b equals 5, And then let's write the equation in y equals mx plus b format. So it's just going to be y, let me use a different color, y equals, what's the slope, guys? Yes, -1/4. But if they give you decimal answer choices, don't forget to change the fraction to a decimal. -1/4 x plus the b value, the 5. Okay, so here's your equation. Y equals -1/4 plus 5. Okay, all right, so let's go to the next one. And I want you guys to do the same thing here as the other ones and find the slope and the y-intercept and write the equation. All right, guys, so here is the work for number 3. So notice how I found the slope m by doing change in y divided by change in x, and you should have found the slope to be 2.5 or 5/2. You could use that as well. And I just stuck to the same color that I was using for the slope, the red color. And then down there, b is 3. And if you notice on the table itself, I highlighted where when x is 0, y is b, and I highlighted that in green so you guys could see it better, but you should have noticed that you look for the point where x is 0, and that y value is your beginning point or the y-intercept, okay? So your equation is y equals 2.5x, 2.5 is the slope, plus the 3, which is the y-intercept. All right, now let's go ahead and work on number 4. On your own, pause the video and let's work on it. All right, so you should have found that the slope is negative because the change in y is negative and the change in x is positive. Okay, so go ahead and make sure you have this down. If you've got it incorrect, make sure you correct it. Okay, so the equation is, I just chose to write the fraction because, guys, you will sometimes see fractions, sometimes see decimals, okay? All right, so let's move on to the last part, which is the summary or a reflection of what you learned. So I need you guys to go ahead and write down slope m equals, so on a table, how do we find slope and how do we find the y-intercept or the letter b? Okay, so for the y-intercept, I'm actually going to reiterate what I asked you guys to write earlier, which is that when x is 0, y is b on a table, okay? Alrighty, so we are done with this video. Make sure you guys go to the next slide, click next to go on to the activity on finding slope and y-intercept and writing the equation from a table.